Hello, hello, hello. My name is Ines. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is where we feel the feels and talk about emotions and spirituality, spiritual ascension, the Great Awakening, the Great Purge, and so on and so forth. Today's episode is going to be reviewing emotions, and today's emotion will be love. So, cheers for the coffee, by the way. First, I want to start with the letter Albert Einstein wrote to his daughter that talks about the universal force being love. And if you listen to spiritual people, they're always talking about love and light and unconditional love. And that is because essentially our creator, our God, works with the element of love. I just want to mention really quickly, for me personally, I did an episode, I haven't released it yet, but I will very soon. If you are religious, if you are spiritual, always lead with love, not violence, not hate, not violence. As soon as you take an action of violence for your God, you're not doing it for the real God. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, so a letter from Albert Einstein to his daughter, and I will leave the link for this in my description. If I forget, just please tell me. To his daughter on the universal force of love. When I proposed the theory of relativity, very few understood me. And what I will reveal now to transmit to mankind will also collide with the misunderstanding and prejudice in the world. I ask you, my daughter, to guard the letter as long as necessary, years, decades, until society is advanced enough to accept what I will explain below. There is an extremely powerful force that so far science has not found a formal explanation to. It is a force that includes and governs all others, and is even behind any phenomenon operating in the universe, and has not yet been identified by us. This universal force is love. When scientists looked for a unified theory of the universe, they forgot the most powerful unseen force. Love is light that enlightens those who give and receive it. Love is gravity because it makes some people feel attracted to others. Love is power because it multiplies the best we have and allows humanity not to be extinguished in their blind selfishness. Love unfolds and reveals. For love we live and die. Love is God and God is love. This force explains everything and gives meaning to life. This is the variable that we have ignored for far too long. Maybe because we are afraid of love, because it is the only energy in the universe that man has not learned to drive at will. To give visibility to love, I made a simple substitution in my most famous equation. If instead of E equals mc squared, we accept that the energy to heal the world can be obtained through love, multiplied by speed of light squared, we arrive at the conclusion that love is the most powerful force there is because it has no limits. Love without limits. And this is going to bring me back to the LGBTQ community, so stay tuned for that. After the failure of humanity in the use and control of the other forces of the universe that have turned against us, it is urgent that we nourish ourselves with another kind of energy. If we want our species to survive, if we are to find the meaning in life, if we want to save the world and every sentient being that inhabits it, love is the one and only answer. Perhaps we are not yet ready to make a bomb of love, a device powerful enough to entirely destroy the hate, selfishness, and greed that devastate the planet. However, each individual carries within them a small but powerful generator of love whose energy is waiting to be released. When we learn to give and receive this universal energy, we will have affirmed that love conquers all, is able to transcend everything and anything, because love is the quintessence of life. I deeply regret not having been able to express what is in my heart, which has been quietly beaten for you all my life. Maybe it's too late to apologize, but as time is relative, I need to tell you that I love you, and thanks to you, I have reached the ultimate answer. And that is Albert Einstein's, one of the greatest human mind scientists that has ever lived, talking about the universal force of love. In the episode I just did, Honoring Your Shadows, it talks about having to go through the shadow emotions in order to get to the lighter emotions. So exactly as he said, in order for us to get to love, we have to get through the selfishness and the greed and so on and so forth. Duality, there is a duality to love itself. Love can also make you blind. What is unconditional love? Unconditional love is what we're supposed to be getting through now. In order for us to get to unconditional love, we have to purge our emotions, master our shadows, and purge whatever negativity we're holding on to in order to get to unconditional love. Unconditional love is loving without limits. And one thing that I know about the LGBTQ plus community is the fact that they were sent here on earth by God to teach us love without limits. They were sent here as volunteers, whatever way you want to look at it, but they were sent here to teach us that love shouldn't have boundaries when it comes to gender, when it comes to who can love most. I've always seen the LGBTQ plus community as a gift from God to show us you don't need those labels, you don't need those limits, you can love for love. It's that simple. Okay, so how do we get to love? By honoring the emotions, honoring our shadows, and mastering our shadows so that we can make room and reduce limits that we have right now to get us to love. So you can easily look at the world around you and journal about it. What is it in the world that's happening right now that I absolutely hate? Why? What is happening right now in the world that I would absolutely change? Why? If you are constantly thinking about other people, you need to spend more time on yourself. One thing I notice is when a lot of people have opinions on how other people are living, especially like, you need Jesus, you need God, you need this, you need that. They need to be spending more time assessing themselves and their own emotions instead of going after other people. And I'm gonna bring reason to it. If you really pay attention, you'll notice that a lot more white people have opinions on how other people should live than the non-white people. And this goes back to one of the episodes I did where whites are the least spiritually and emotionally evolved because they spend so much time, and this is through programming of colonization, okay? They spent so much time being judged by their own peers, and this is something that got generationally passed down and only got worse, that they themselves started judging others thinking that was the way that they were supposed to be. But what we're supposed to be doing is only concentrating on our inner selves, our own inner judgment, and not judging other people. So going back to the shadows, instead of going to say, you need Jesus, you need this, you need help, go to your journal and say, why does this trigger me? Why does this make me feel this way? Why do I want to comment this? Because it's all things that are triggered within you to teach you a lesson, not to judge somebody else's actions. Once we understand our own inner judgment and we start judging ourselves and not judging others, is when we'll start to get to honoring our shadows and learning more about our shadows. But for as long as we concentrate on what other people are doing, we're never going to master anything within ourselves. we're not. So if you are somebody who gets triggered by a lot of stuff that is coming out right now, you gotta start the journaling. You ask questions. Questions are always good, especially with this emotional stuff, because let's face it, through capitalism, we've been really, colonization, capitalism, like I said, is the same thing. So we've been really, really far behind on that evolutionary scale. So it's really important for us to get back to work. Okay, so you have to reach love in order to reach God. So if you have hate in your heart, especially for other people, you technically have a hate for the Creator. Until you reach love, you'll never understand God or your guides speaking to you. Now, I'm someone who has a lot of love in my heart, but I go through my shadows and I go through my hate. And there's people right now in the world that I'm like, oh, you make me so angry. Bah. And then I decide to journal about it and do these kinds of episodes. So you're not alone in feeling these shadows. Just because I understand love, I've felt love, I talk to my guides, I'm more spiritually evolved, there is still shadows on this earth that we have to honor. And this is where I constantly say, don't feel shame in your emotions, don't feel shame in any of that, because our minds have been programmed to be greedy, to be hateful, to not understand love. And once you understand that love cannot have limits, it cannot. If you put limits on who you love, what you love, how long you love it for, you're never actually going to understand love. That can be something that you like. But here's a great example of unconditional love. Will you still love it even if it doesn't belong to you? Will you still love it if it doesn't love you back? Or will you allow that to turn to hate? Make sure you get your journal going about what is unconditional love to you, and definitely make sure you journal about what limits you have to love. You can also check out this wonderful chart that I love using, and you can look at any of those shadows or any of those emotions on the lower part of the scale. Look at them as the shadow emotions. So if you feel any of those things, you can already put them in your shadow chart. I would also, if you want to start looking at the duality of each of those shadow emotions, you can also, I think I mentioned this in the reviewing Honoring Your Shadows episode, but start journaling about why you like holding on to those emotions. If you hold on to anger, do you do it for protection, or do you do it because you feel more powerful? Do you maybe have more energy, get stuff done? Do you live in fear? So on and so forth. And then also journal about your community. What is it about your community that you don't want to be a part of, and what is it about your community that you do want to be a part of? When it comes specifically to love and unconditional love, that one literally touches all of the honoring your shadows. So definitely make sure you go watch that episode, because it works very well with this episode. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Get to journaling. Inner judgment only, not outer judgment. If there's anything that you feel like you should judge people for, it's more a lesson in yourself than it is to judge others. So yeah, okay. I love you guys and have a great day. Mwah. Bye.